Alright, this is lesson 13.2 in intermediate algebra. It has to do with series. And if you remember, back in 13.1, we were talking about sequences. Now, a sequence would be, again, just as a reminder, functions with a specific domain. So if we were to have a function such as, again, that f of x just represents, well, for this course, just kind of your y value, and I had 3x plus 5, and I started putting in numbers, you know, a first number, a second number, a third number. So let's say that I put in 1, 2, 3. My sequence would be the answer I get when I put in 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So the first terms of the sequence, the first three terms of the sequence would be 8, 11, and 14. Okay, so there's a sequence, and there's the first three terms of that sequence. I mean, that sequence could go on forever. But notice what happens. I go from an 8 to 11, an 11 to a 14, etc., etc. Okay, so a sequence is just a set of positive numbers starting with 1, 2, 3. And again, that 1, 2, 3 is the first number, the second number, the third number, the fourth number. Okay? And the sequence then would be the resulting answers I get when I put in the first, second, third numbers. Alright, so let's jump to series, and let's see if I can get rid of all of this stuff while I'm rambling on about some things here. Okay, trying to use my eraser a little bit more often since it keeps me keeps things a little bit open as far as what I can do here. Alright, so a series then, in fact, let's just read top of the page. There is an interesting relationship between the sequence of odd numbers and the sequence of squares. Okay, so let's forget that. Let's just go to the definition here. The sum of a number of terms in a sequence is called a series. So if I had that last group of numbers, I had what, an 8, an 11, a 14, on there, the first three numbers. A series is if you add all these numbers together. That's all it is. Okay? It's all it is. The sum of a number of terms in the sequence, so here's my number of terms, 3 of them, is called a series if I add them all up. Alright, so the only thing that sometimes seems a little bit confusing is we use a lot of symbols when we do this. I mean, we start getting into some statistical stuff. In fact, the new symbol that we're going to use is a Greek letter called a sigma. And a sigma looks like this. Kind of like an E. And that means the sum of, because I said we're going to add those up, and we're going to get a series. The sum of the sequences. Alright, or the sum of the number of terms in a sequence. So we're going to use that, and it's called a summation symbol, or summation notation. And so let's go ahead and see what we can do with this little summation here. Alright, so that says we're going to add some numbers up. But it doesn't tell me what those numbers are. It doesn't give me a formula. It doesn't give me anything else. So let me give you one. We have a formula, and when you're doing summations, the I right there does not mean an imaginary number. It means that it is the number that we're going to put in the formula. So, for example, let's say I have I equals 1, and above my summation I'm going to put a 4. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about what this whole confusing mess means. and you'll find out it's pretty simple. It means that we're going to start with the number 1, and we're going to go through the number 4, including 4. So we're going to start with 1 and go to 4 and put those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, in for I. Okay? So let's put 1 in first. I'll do that in red. 8 times 1 minus 10. Okay? Because it says I equals 1. So we're going to put I in for 1, or 1 in for I. Then we're going to take 8 times 2 minus 10, 8 times 3 minus 10, and 8 times 4 minus 10. Alright, so these two numbers here tell me where we're starting at 1 and where we're ending at 4. Okay, and it tells me I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4 in here for I, get an answer. Minus 2, 16 minus 10, 24 minus 10, and 32 minus 10. Okay, and the summation means once I get my answers, I'm going to add all of these together. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4, plus 14 is 18, plus 22 is 40. So the answer to that is going to be 40. So again, the letter I, what that means is index of summation. Okay, so that's what that I means, and it just means we're going to plug some numbers in for I. What are those numbers? Well, they're going to be the numbers 1 through 4. And we're just going to plug them in there and then add our answers together. Okay, so that's the basics of this. If you've got that, you've pretty much got this figured out. So let's go ahead and put another problem on here. This will be example 1, and we're going to make I equals 1. So we're going to start at 1. I mean, that could be I equals 2, and you start at 2. And we go I squared minus 1. Alright, so what does that mean? That means we take our I squared minus 1 and put first 1 squared minus 1, 2 squared minus 1, 3 squared minus 1, 4 squared minus 1, and 5 squared minus 1. Okay, we start at 1, we end at 5. Alright, so our answers. 1 squared minus 1 is 1 minus 1 is 0. 4 minus 1, 9 minus 1, 16 minus 1, 25 minus 1. We add all those numbers together. 3 and 8 is 11, and 5 is 16, 20, carry the 2, 40. Okay, oops, sorry, carry the 2, 5. So my answer there is 50. Alright, let's keep going with the next example here. And let's do another one here. And this one gives me, I'm going to start at 3 and go up to 6. And my formula is negative 2i. Alright, so let's go ahead and write what I've got here. Negative 2 cubed, since I start with 3. Negative 2 to the 4th. Negative 2 to the 5th. And negative 2 to the 6th. Okay, negative 2 cubed is negative 8. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Alright. Negative 2 to the 4th power. You don't even have to worry. Really, you don't even have to worry about multiplying with the negatives. Okay, this tells me when I have a negative sign in here, and you don't have to do it this way, but if this number is odd, your answer is going to be 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8, with a negative. If it's a even number, it's going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or whatever number this is, and then it's going to be a positive. So this is going to be a positive 16, because This is an odd number. My answer is going to be negative, and I'm going to take 2 to the 5th power and get 32. Because this is an even number, I'm going to take 2 to the 6th power, which is 64, and it will be positive. Okay, you don't have to do it that way. That's just a quick and easy way. You can do negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 16. So you can do it that way, but it just keeps it from being so confusing. So negative 8 plus 16 is 8, plus negative 32 is negative 40, plus 64, you're going to end up being at 40 if you add all those together. So this is 8, and then we're going to add 32 to it. I'm sorry, I said 40, that's not right. Negative 32 plus 8 is negative 24, plus 64 is the 40 that I got there. Alright, let's keep going here. And let's jump up to example 3. And, well, let's just do that on the next video, since I'm at 11.5 minutes and I only have 15 minutes of video. So 13.2a we'll do on 13.b, and we'll continue on with example 3.